Hello and good morning, everybody. It's me, Julian. And today I would like to talk about a seemingly simple and yet I think highly important argument that Lacan makes apropos how psychoanalysis can help you stop wasting your life. And it really boils down to a simple formula that Lacan repeats, where he says, the only thing you can be guilty of in life is yielding ground to your desire. Which to say, Lacan's simple formula is this: you must remain true or loyal to your desire. And to simplify somewhat, most of us go through life feeling like there's something that we wanted to do, something that we had imagined for ourselves, something that we thought would make us happy. And yet most of us are simply going through the motions, wishing that a day will come that somehow we embark upon this journey to do the thing we actually wanted to do in our life. And one of the tragedies is that while we're so busy trying to find that day when we start living our life, that before we know it, our entire lives have passed us by. And somehow we feel like we were going to start, but we never did. And Lacan's maxim, to simplify it somewhat, is that this is how we betray our desire. We essentially go through the motions, feeling like one day it's going to happen for us. And yet time has already passed us. It is already too late. And so what I'd like to do in this short video is I'd like to give you a little step-by-step guide, a simplified version, if you will, of what Lacan's basic argument is and how you can use this to essentially stop wasting your life. It is important, however, to note that Lacan is not a self-help theorist in the traditional sense of the word. Lacan is not trying to give people a 10-step program or protocol that they can use to achieve happiness and enlightenment. Instead, Lacan is trying to put his finger on a very sore point, which is what makes us happy, what makes us fulfilled, and how does this relate or appertain to desire. Lacan's simple formula is that you have to undergo a transition from desire to drive, which is to say you have to orient yourself not around desire as an object of desire, but instead drive as a kind of futile pursuit. Or to simplify it somewhat, instead of chasing something that you think will make you happy, you have to learn to enjoy the chase itself. And what I'm going to try to do here is give you a step-by-step introduction to how this argument works. So Lacan essentially has this maxim, which I've already said to you: do not give ground to your desire. Lacan's argument is that we betray our intentions, our desire. And one of the paradoxes is that the easiest trap, the easiest way to betray your desire is precisely to think that you are giving into it. For example, let's say that you're an artist and your original intention is to create art. But as soon as you do something successful and people start paying you money for it, you start essentially doing it for the money. And this isn't even because you're a bad person or you've betrayed your original instincts. It's that as soon as money becomes part of the equation, it's really hard not to do it for the money. Excuse me. And so you start doing it over and over again until you become essentially a parody of yourself. And this happens precisely because you were successful. And Lacan's conclusion is this. This is what you might call the superego trap. The more you feed the superego, the more you chase the outward appearance of success, the more you betray your original desire. And the easiest way to betray your desire is precisely by means of being successful, appearing to have achieved it. Vice versa, one of the ways in which you can guard your desire is precisely by not giving into it. Like, the longer you go through life thinking that one day you will write the great American novel, or one day you will do exactly what you've always dreamt of doing, this is secretly a way of keeping your dream alive, of not yielding to it, as it were. And so the trap is twofold. Either you chase superego success, the more you feed it, the more it drains you until you're a husk of your former self, or you never give in to your desire, you never chase it, therefore allowing to hold on to the dream, but in a sense also not achieving it. And so you're stuck. Either you cultivate the dream by not chasing it, oh, someday I could begin, or you become successful at it, and by means of having become successful, you have already lost it. In fact, this is Lacan's theory of desire in a nutshell. He says, if you desire something, you have to be very careful to identify why you desire it. After all, most of the time, desire is constituted by our innate feeling that we can't have it. In other words, as soon as you have it, it is already symbolically void. By means of having acquired it, you have already lost it. And so Lacan's answer, his solution is this. Instead of orienting your life around desire, you have to orient it around drive. And the difference is this. Desire revolves around an object of loss. I can't have it, therefore I want it. Drive is oriented around an object of lack, something that can never be completed, something that can never be filled in. Like the writer who, as soon as he finishes one book, begins writing the next. The athlete who, at the end of a season, begins training for the next one. Once you enjoy the process or the journey, it's not about the reward. It's not about the superego incentive. It's about the thing itself. It gives your life meaning. Hence why Zizek, extrapolating from Lacan, says you have to pick one thing and dedicate yourself to it completely. This is what Lacan calls subjective destitution. And once you have found that one thing that gives your life meaning, that orients your existence, you can be happy, you can be content. When people say that money doesn't buy happiness, they don't mean that you can't buy things. They mean that you can't buy contentment. Contentment doesn't come from desire. Contentment comes from drive, from having something that you can train for, that you can do every day, that fills in the empty space in your life and gives it meaning, as it were. This can be every day getting up and being a good partner. It can be every day getting up and being a good family man. It can be writing. It can be reading. It can be discussing. It can be teaching other people. Once you've found that one thing that gives your life meaning and that crucially also provides something to somebody else so that it is not simply self-serving. After all, the more you give, the more you receive. Not because you receive actual financial compensation, but because the act of giving is itself the reward. In providing for others, you have therefore provided for yourself. And this is the key aspect of subjective destitution. The more you give, the more you receive, because it retroactively changes the very logic by which you measure your success or contentment. Having given to others, you have thereby already given to yourself. Hence, you are revolving around lack or drive, something which can never be filled, instead of desire, which orients itself around the illusion that happiness lies around the other corner. That once you have achieved X, once you have been validated in a certain way, you will be happy and content. Drive, on the other hand, is something that sustains you each and every day. And Zizek characterizes it like this. Zizek says that drive is when you undergo the transition from being towards death, towards being dead in life. And being dead in life is a kind of immortality. It means that you don't live to satisfy your superego. You're not living for status and success and for money. You're not living for external validation. You are simply living for that which makes your life meaningful. You are doing it for the sake of doing it, and therein achieving a kind of immortality and bliss. Hence why Lacan says that if you want to stop wasting your life, to put it in contemporary terms, you have to undergo the transition from desire to drive. Instead of chasing X, you have to enjoy the chase as such. That is Lacan's argument and why he says that you should never betray your desire. Never yield to your desire.